Hello, friends. I have a release date. That's my release date excitement. It's Halloween. Shocker. You're probably not shocked. I am, because I thought this was going to happen earlier this year. So what I thought I would do is, I have a page on my website now, karenstever.com/Halloween. And every day I'm going to post up a puzzle piece that I take away from the front of the book so that you can see the full cover by Halloween. Isn't that fun? I know it's been done before, but I think it's kind of fun. And I had fun making a puzzle and putting one of the characters from the book on each puzzle piece. You know, there's over 30 of them on this puzzle. And so every day I want to introduce you to one of them and maybe read you a little bit from the book, if you're cool with that. So maybe I'll start by talking about Ian, who is the main character of this book. Even though he's not the main character in all the series, you'll see Ian throughout, but there's a new kid from each country for all 7 books, and Ian is from New York, and this is his book, and this is his story. So Ian is a 9-year-old savant. He has a very powerful retrocognitive ability where he sees the disturbing history of every animal that he runs into. So you have to imagine he's nonverbal, he sees disturbing things, and then he cannot communicate them. If you are a parent of a child who is on the spectrum, or if you were on the spectrum yourself and you're maybe nonverbal, it is really frustrating, because I believe that these kids see things differently than us. They just see things differently. And so not only do they see things differently, but then if you're nonverbal, you cannot communicate that. And it comes out as frustration, it could come out as anger, it could come out as being very quiet. Some kids hit themselves. Like, there's a whole array, and no 2 children are alike, ever. And that's the big rule with the spectrum, is never treat 2 kids the same. They're not, they're different. So I imagined with this series what these kids see, and it's just my imagination of what they see that causes them to act a certain way. And I like to think that what they're seeing and what they're experiencing is a lot more magical and on a higher level than how we see things, as opposed to thinking that they have a mental disorder. I believe they have a mental strength. And so everything I do with this story comes from that place. So that's why I picked Ian as the main character. So I've given animals crazy voices my whole life. If any of you know Sloppy Joe Jalopy, my little boy that died last year, you will know he talked all day long and he had a voice. I needed to have a character that could channel the history and the voices of the weak. So that's why I chose Ian, and I chose his superpower to be that he can see their history. So now the frustration and the complication comes in that Ian sees these things and then he cannot communicate them the way that we communicate. So he does end up hitting. He does end up having tantrums. He does end up doing things that, you know, the rest of us might see as being like a problem. But for Ian, it's a frustration, because what he's seeing is on a higher level than what we can imagine. So it's a challenge. And I know a lot of you parents out there experience the challenges of just simply not knowing what your child is trying to communicate to you. And it could be something really superhuman, and it could be something on another level. They might be seeing anything from the ghost of their grandmother to an alien, and they would never be able to communicate that to you. And so it's a real frustration that a lot of people have. So this was my attempt at having an imagination and imagining that what Ian sees is just simply on a higher level, and that his purpose and his calling is on a greater level than what we could imagine it. So, and maybe our kids just see things that we can't. Maybe they hear things that we can't, you know. They're not what we visually interpret them to be. And maybe if we would just leave these kids alone, they would figure it all out. You know, that whole thing, stop trying to figure us out and just love us and learn from us. And I've talked to so many parents on the spectrum who are really good at learning and absorbing from their child, as opposed to, you know, fix them. And I'll talk a little bit more to you about Katie, who she is not a savant status. She's not, she can speak, but she is in a wheelchair, and I'll talk to you here a little bit about her later, and you know how people are trying to fix her. So I thought I would read to you an excerpt from the book so that you could kind of get a grip on who Ian is and how I write about him. So I'm reading from The Great Stone Lions, which is in chapter 1 of King Juggernaut, New York City. So he's in the back seat and his father's in the front seat. He, meaning Thomas, tilted his hat back and swung around to speak to his 9-year-old son. His cigarette was stuck to his bottom lip, and the boy's big brown eyes were fixed on it, wondering if ashes would drop off or if the whole thing would just fall onto his legs. One can well imagine how difficult it is to concentrate on words when the potential of being set on fire is looming over you. "Oh, she's just gone hot because that dog belonged to the only queen who could get her fox-trotting work," Thomas laughed. He was personally amused by his own slight against her burlesque nightlife. He reached for his son's leg and said, "I know, it doesn't take much to get her fuming, just like you. She is trying to make friends and wants to be liked." As he grabbed his knee, the boy grew increasingly nervous that his lap was going to end up as an ashtray. The last thing he cared about was making friends or being liked. And that is Ian. He's absorbed by the things around him. He's busy with the visions he has. He doesn't have time for this kind of small talk or small-mindedness. He has a mission that he's on. I know that it can be frustrating when you can't understand why someone is acting the way they're acting. And even off the spectrum, sometimes people are reacting to something around them that we don't understand. And we should not, in our arrogance, assume that a behavior is because somebody's simply being bad. There might be something bigger they're seeing. There might be something bigger going on that we don't know about. And they might have a higher calling that we don't know anything about. And that is Ian. I hope that you will follow Ian on this journey. And I really would love to sign this book to you. And so I will have a link on the site that you can go and pre-order it. I will be releasing the cover on Halloween. And I hope that you will stop by again tomorrow to see another puzzle piece and to learn about another character in the book. And yeah, it's gonna be a fun month. And then we'll all celebrate on Facebook Live on Halloween, okay? Maybe you'll dress up. Maybe I'll dress up. I haven't even thought that far ahead, but it'll be fun, okay? I will talk to you soon. Have a great day, and as always, rock on.